This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Lions victorious division game on the road, and while the Vikings, although claiming to be like the unofficial team of Prince, really secretly deep down inside, they are the unofficial team of Chris Isaac. That and much more on the Hindsight 20. Hindsight 20 podcast. I'm your host, Jerry Mallory. And why am I playing Chris Isaac? Well, yes, it was a wicked game for the Lions, getting that victory on the road. But we'll talk about the Vikings and Chris Isaac a little bit later as the wheels just completely fall off toward the end of the show. Let's take care of some business first. Let's be semi-professional just for a little bit. Of course, proud member, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. It's not just me. Every single day, there's an amazing and awesome, informative, entertaining, just an all-around lovely show for you to check out. So please subscribe, Detroit Sports Podcast Network, and also a proud member of PrivateDetroit.com. I had the pleasure of joining Chris Perfect. Sorry, man. I'm used to calling you Chris Lemieux, but I had the pleasure of joining my buddy Chris there on Private Detroit, the pregame Facebook Live show. I'll be doing some more content with my buddies there, PrivateDetroit.com, bar none. If you're listening to me, that means you're kind of in the Detroit sports loop, the unofficial, official guy. So I know you know about Private Detroit. If there's a slim chance that you haven't gone there yet, some type of way you got to me before you got to them, please, by all means, PrivateDetroit.com, bar none, the best website for Detroit Lions news, views, opinions. Time for some cliches. It wasn't pretty. A win is a win is a win. We'll never make excuses for wins. It's the black and blue division, et cetera, et cetera. All the cliches kind of applied to yesterday's game. Lions victorious 14-7. And just when we thought, some records would be shattered, the streak of not having a 100-yard rusher would be coming to an end, we had a great game by Amir Abdullah, but he fell just shy. And just when we, sing the praises of Matt Prater and all these plus 50 kicks, it came to an end as well. But, those things are going to happen, in the course of a season. So I'm happy, okay? I'm happy right now. I'm excited. As you know, this puts us to 3-1, tied for first place with the Packers. And, hey, another cliche, one game at a time. But you're starting to look at how the season is unfolding. And to me, the NFC looks a lot like last year. And when I was high on that Kool-Aid during our run, we won like 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7. I'm looking at the NFC and I'm saying, man, there isn't a really dominant team. I'm starting to feel that way now. And we're going to talk about the scope of the NFC and where the Lions may fall in just a moment. But we got to talk about this game first. So 14-7 is the score. Again, opportunistic, lucky, some like to say. I don't really go down that route. Fortunate, whatever. The turnovers, this is the fourth game. It's a quarter of the season away. And so when are things just fortunate? And then when are things like a habit? When are things a part of what you're working on? And Darius Slay in the post game, he said something that really struck home with me. He said, we practice getting turnovers. We practice, recovering fumbles, attempting. We didn't do this last year. And so when you hear that, and when you go to now 4 games in a row where we're winning the turnover battle by a wide margin, I'm slowly but surely leaning toward this is a strength of the team. It won't be, 3-0 in the margin every week, but by and large, we will be one of those teams that are good at committing turnovers and take care of the ball. You think about the Bears, about 10 years ago, that great defense with Brian Urlacher and their Super Bowl run. You think about the Ravens, all the successes that they had, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they had that vaunted defense. I'm not comparing us to one of those all-time great defenses, but those teams consistently got turnovers. It wasn't they're fortunate, they're lucky, and this thing is going to fall out. No, they did it throughout the course of the year, course of years, plural. Still, 4 games for the Lions. I'm not writing anything in the history books. I'm not setting anything in stone. But some of these things we're seeing are starting to look more like the identity of the team as opposed to, an outlier here or there. Will it last? The back 7 looking good again this time. Even without Jared Davis, linebackers holding up. The cornerbacks and the defensive backs is a cornerback. The safeties, man, they're looking good. Devon Wilson being back, that helped, man, because you allowed Killebrew to kind of roam. It's such a perfect role for the young man right now. Eventually he'll step in. He'll be a starter and he'll be a fine starter. Every time he's been given an opportunity, he has shined. So these things are starting to look like habits more than just, are they just fortunate because they played this team or because this or that? We're seeing it time in and time out. Now, I could break down the game a million ways, go over stats, who's hot, who's not. Everyone's doing that, and that's the thing with my podcast. I try to bring something different because, number one, if I try to be like, let's say, Pride Detroit in their show, it's going to be second rate. I can't do what they do. They're the best at what they do. Or I could try to give you a regurgitation of stats and things like that. You get that all over the place. Again, I took a little hiatus. I'm back. I try to do something a little bit different. I don't have the longest show. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. I try to just give you off the cuff thoughts, some theories, a few stats here and there. But my mindset is if I do what everyone else is doing, then you're going to get that feel. Maybe you get it from me this week. Maybe you get it from someone else next week. But if I give you something just a little bit different, try to give you just more of a conversation, a commentary. You're sitting at the lunch table with me and we're just talking. If I try to give you something that you won't get anywhere else, the odds of you coming back to get that unique experience is there. So the stats. We know Abdullah had 94 yards. Zettel had 2 sacks. All those things are fine and dandy. But the main thing I want to talk about of this Vikings game is this is the 4th game where we have seen excelling in special teams, where we have seen opportunistic for turnovers, where we have seen, bend but don't break on defense. And Stafford to me, Stafford does what's given to him, okay? He doesn't try to force it anymore. Against good defenses, he's not trying to break any passing records. He's fine knowing that the pass rush is going to be there. He got sacked a ton yesterday, even against the Giants, He's kind of accepting what these teams do, and he's not going to do just enough. Not to make too many mistakes, not to give them those opportunities, and it's been working out. I don't care what the stats at the end of the year will say. For my money, Stafford is doing a fine job. I don't know what the quarterback rating is. I don't know what the total QBR. I don't know what any of those things are, and I don't care. I'm watching NFL games, especially this year. I've got the ticket, and for my money, Stafford has been one of the best quarterbacks in all the NFL this year. I don't care what the stats say. If the stats agree with me, I still don't care. Matthew Stafford has been playing like an elite quarterback, all right? He's playing like a top 2, top 3 type of guy this year. Brady has been awesome. Rodgers has been awesome. Those 2 guys are the standard, all right? If you're talking about quarterbacks in today's NFL, they're number 1, number 2, however you want to rank them. I always put, unfortunately, Rodgers is like the best thing going in my opinion. After those 2 guys, you're telling me to pick a guy to roll with, to win some games with, given the situation at hand, give me Matthew Stafford. Now, I'm here to kind of give you some balance at this point. I'm here to present 2 sides of the coin. I'm going to be referencing 2 of my favorite shows for today's episode, and we'll see how it goes. The first is The Office. The Office is just, to me, one of the best shows ever. It's delightful. Okay. It's funny. It was, when Michael Scott, when Steve Carell left, it wasn't as good, but, to me, The Office was one of the best shows going. Now, there was a scene in The Office where Michael Scott and his soon to be wife, Holly, she comes back in town. And there was a whole deal where she was dating someone, but she gave this guy an ultimatum. And she said, listen, if you don't propose to me, I believe it was like by Christmas or New Year's, I'm going to break up. So Michael was kind of preparing himself for this scenario. So they get back from their Christmas break, and he gave himself a pep talk. It was a positive one if, she broke up with the dude. Then there was the negative one if she stayed with the dude. And so it was quite funny. It was 2 videos. He was ready for whichever scenario kind of played out. And so I'm here today to kind of give Jerry Mallory and perhaps you those two pep talks. The positive, the homer, the Kool-Aid. You know, we're 3-1. Let's talk about why we could contend, etc. And then I'm going to give you the other one. But like, chill out, come down to earth. Perhaps the Lions, you know, they're 3-1, but let's hold our horses. Should we start with the negative or the positive? Let's go with the negative, all right? So we're 3-1, and it's time to pump the brakes. First and foremost, 3-1 is just that. 4 games. We have 12 games to go, and a lot could change. I take you no further than last year with the Lions, who started off 1-3. From starting off 1-3, I remember going to work that next day after losing to the Bears. Me and a coworker, we're like, "Yep, this is going to be a really bad year." We're talking about Myles Garrett. You know, all right, let's go get us a defensive end. By the end of the year, yeah, we kind of, lost steam, but we won 9 games, went 9-7, made it to the playoffs. So the beginning is important because, hey, if we played better in the beginning, we could have been, possibly division champs, but it does not tell the whole story. Going 3-1 is good. It's a great way to start, especially with what we perceive to be a very tough schedule. But things can turn rapidly. We saw it with this team last year, even the year before with the 0-7 start, ended up winning 7 out of the last 9. So we've seen it the other way around. We've seen them go 5-3, 6-2, then lose out. So, I think this team is different, but it does happen. I remember the Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago going 5-0 to start and then just really fluttered. The Minnesota Vikings, 5-0 start. Was that last year or the year before? One or the other, and then just completely fluttered. I think that was last year. It was a 5-0 start. So 3-1 is good, but we've seen things change. We've seen it with our very own team last year with the reverse, going 1-3 and then kind of, So we got to pump our brakes. We have to pump our brakes. Now, the defense, we love the defense. We love the defense. The defense has played probably one really good offense. I don't care what the numbers said about Minnesota being a top-ranked offense. They're not, especially when you add Dalvin Cook, especially when you add Sam Bradford being out. We played one good offense so far, in my opinion. That's the Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta Falcons kind of had their way with us. And so I'm not saying doom and gloom, but let's not go too far. Let's not buy, plane tickets and hotel reservations to Minnesota just yet, home of the Super Bowl this year. And then the turnovers, I know, like me, I just said, I think it's become a part of their identity. But even if it's part of their identity to have these +3 margins every single week, that's going to be hard to do. So if it wasn't +3 this week against Minnesota, maybe if it's just +1 or even, do we win the game? If it wasn't +3 against Atlanta, we've been as close to winning that game. You get what I'm saying? What's going to happen when it's even? Maybe we have one turnover, the other team has one turnover, or dare I say, we're in the negative column. See what's going to happen then. We have to see, because it's bound to happen. That's like the official pump the brakes. Let's not go too far. This team has a little bit of ways to go. That's the negative speech, if you will. Not really negative, but just like let's not go too far. Now it's time for the Michael Scott speech of positivity. Yes, we are 3-1. Yes, the NFC looks horrible, in my opinion. I really don't think there's a team that stands out. Dallas Cowboys, yeah, they just got beat by the LA Rams. The aforementioned LA Rams, don't believe in those guys. Okay, they're young, they're promising, got a young, promising coach. That coach is about my age. Not yet. Green Bay, yes, 3-1. They always seem to figure things out. They haven't looked great. Okay, they got beat down by the Falcons. Then the games they've won, they haven't beat the best competition. So I'm not, and they got so many injuries. Then they got the Atlanta Falcons. They just lost yesterday. Not only did they lose, you got this hip injury with Julio. Mohamed Sanu's hurt. They're starting to get banged up. Seattle has looked horrible. Did you see that game against Tennessee? So who's left? Who is this contender in the NFC where the Lions are just that far behind? Guys, you have to look at the scope. If this was the AFC and you got the Patriots, who I still believe in, and the Chiefs, Denver's defense is scary. I just think the AFC's stronger. Even the Bills, I respect what they're doing. I think they're going to be a legitimate contender for a wild card spot. It's a class that is not present in the NFC. The NFC to me is available. It is open. Are we the number one top, choice? I wouldn't say that. You still got to look at Atlanta because of the experience. You still got to look at Green Bay. When you start talking about injuries, you start talking about the fact that we've hung in tough with those teams before. We just played Atlanta. I don't want to say it, but I have to. We are strong contenders. At this point, things can change, but at this point, we are strong contenders, not just for the division, for the entire conference. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, that weird connection, Chris Isaac and the Minnesota Vikings. What in the world are you talking about? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about another team I left out when I was talking about those contenders, the Carolina Panthers. We'll be playing them this Sunday. We'll look ahead to see, what's going to be the keys to victory. I'll give you a prediction, that and much more. So stick around for half number 2 of the Hindsight 20 podcast. We're back on the Hindsight 20. I want to thank you for sticking around for the second half. Let's put a bow on this whole Vikings thing. And Minnesota, the purple and gold. Even Prince had a song that was dedicated to the Vikings entitled Purple and Gold. So with the whole Minnesota thing, obviously people associate Prince as kind of being like the unofficial guy, the unofficial artist of the Minnesota Vikings. And in the beginning of the podcast, I said, well, you guys are wrong. Secretly, somewhere deep down in the hearts of Minnesota and the Vikings, their official artist, their official musical guy is the one and only 90s singing legend, Chris Isaac. That was that song I played at the beginning, Wicked Game. And to make a long story short, if you're like me and you've lived in Detroit and you've watched, hundreds of Lions games, dozens of games versus the Vikings, of which they play in Minnesota, one of the most irritating noises by far, not just in sports, but in general, is the Viking horn, okay? When you hear that thing, if you're anything like me, you want to punch a baby, you want to, pull your hair out, you want to scream, you want to cry. I mean, that's bad. I mean, any self-loving, self-respectable human being, when they hear that, they're not from Minnesota, they just cringe. And so I cringe every time I hear. And the thing that makes me mad is they blow the horn for like anything. Okay, I can see first down, that's kind of, you're kind of pushing it to me. I think, the horn is something special. It should be for them. So maybe a touchdown or a big play. But they do it for first downs. They do it if the punter, pins you inside the 20. They'll punt the ball and it'll land on the 17. Like, really? When they kick the ball off, if it's a touchback. Dude, not only is it irritating, you use it too much. You use it when it doesn't really even deserve that celebration. But I digress. I hate the noise. I hate the sound. And I don't know why. I don't know when this came up in my mind, but for some reason, every time I hear that, it reminds me of that 90s song, Wicked Game by Chris Isaac. And I'll play the clip, right as Chris Isaac's just like right in the middle of his singing. He goes, I don't want to fall in love. It just reminds me, for some reason, it reminds me of that Viking horn. And if you slow the song down enough, if you play it backwards, you can kind of hear it. And deep down in my heart, I believe that it's not a Viking horn they play over and over. It is, in fact, Chris Isaac that they've chopped and screwed, slowed down a little bit, and made into their official war chant. Even the beginning of that song, Wicked Game, you kind of hear the, you kind of hear the, if you, that's it. You got to chop it. You got to screw it. You got to reverse it. Here, take a listen for yourself. This is the beginning of Wicked Game. Kind of hear the Viking horn in there. And then when that chorus kicks in and Chris Isaac starts singing, I hear that Viking horn. Both equally irritating. I think the Viking horn, though, just a little bit worse. So here's the beginning of the song. I swear to you that the Vikings some type of way use that little beginning part potentially for the purposes of their horn. Now we're gonna scroll forward on this song because right when he gets to the chorus and he starts singing, just listen for yourself.
I never dreamed that I knew somebody like you.
All right, here comes the Viking horn. All right, that's all I got. Deep down inside, like I said, when I hear I hear that Chris Isaak, I think secretly Prince is he's not the artist. He's not the guy that the Vikings, have that connection with. I think they have it with 90s pop. I don't know. Was he soul? I don't know what to call him. 90s artist Chris Isaak. Shall we move on? Vikings, Packers, Bears, Lions. It's going to be a heated rivalry, minus the Bears. BJ minus the Bear. But we got to move on. We got to look forward to not just the division, like I said, but perhaps the whole conference. The Panthers are coming up, and, again, it's a big test for us. Now, they looked pretty good against the Patriots. The Patriots defense, I don't know what's going on. They'll figure it out. Trust me, okay? Bill Belichick has a way of figuring things out. They've had slow starts. Have they even had like a 1-2 start under his regime the last few years? Possibly. They'll figure things out. They haven't so far, and the Panthers took advantage of them. Now, their defense has been solid, with the exception of the New Orleans game. They held, but, San Francisco, that's not saying much. The Bills, it's a defensive team, not so much offense. And so, again, I say all that to say I do believe in the Panthers defense. They've got some key players. They got some key cogs. A guy that I was kind of interested in, Kawan Short, for the Lions. He signed a big money deal with them. Obviously, Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, man, ACL after ACL, and he's still walking. It says a lot. Me and him are actually tied for ACL tears, but whereas if I play basketball, I need like 2 weeks to recover. He's playing on a weekly basis. So it is impressive what he's been able to do. And I think they're coached well on the defensive side of the ball. Now, offensively, what I think happened is they came into this year, they got these new weapons. They want to use them. They're gonna make everything about Christian McCaffrey. They're gonna base the offense around him. This whole thing, Curtis Samuel, it's gonna be new and improved. They tried for the first couple of weeks, and it's like, okay, this isn't working. And so got a chance to watch a little bit of that game against New England, and to me, they used their big receivers. They used Devin Funchess. They used Kelvin Benjamin. All right. And, McCaffrey was in there, but they didn't try to focus on him as much. Kind of going back to their old ways, let Jonathan Stewart pound the ball. And it also coincides, though, with Cam Newton. He's getting healthier. And so he's getting a little bit healthier. He's getting better. I think they're not so focused on using their shiny new toys. Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel. Yes, the Patriots defense is bad. So far, I think, like I said, they'll figure things out. So it's a lot going on. I do think, though, that ultimately the Panthers are an average to below average offense, and we are an above average defense. Now, offensively, the Lions, I think we play to the opponents, man. When we're playing a tough defense, we don't try to do too much, try to limit mistakes. We're not trying to score 30 points on a team. They're trying to do ball control, trying to run the ball, and I would throw the Panthers in that category as a very good defense. How good? I don't know. They're right in that mix. They'll be one of the better defenses we faced so far. They're right up there, in my opinion, with the Giants. Probably a little bit better than the Giants this year. They're in that mix with the Vikings. They could potentially be the best defense we faced this year. And so, it being a home tilt, I think that kind of tilted in our favor. If I'm doing a prediction, we'll have to see more with the injury report, who's going to play, who, what, where, when. I think I hope Jarrett Davis will be ready, coming back soon. Armonte Bryant, another guy we have to keep in mind. He might be coming back. Hopefully Galladay, Kenny G, the main man, he comes back. So we'll have to see on those things. But right now, if I'm doing a prediction, I think we find a way to win this one, 24-17. All right, we like to keep it close. One score affair, 2 3-1 teams. It'd be interesting to see as far as power rankings, where everyone ends up now. I think Atlanta, Carolina, and Detroit will be the top 3 NFC ranked teams in the power rankings. The Packers will be right in that mix. Eagles are 3-1 as well. But it'd be interesting to see how everyone lays out. And then after this game, Panthers versus Lions, the scope will be even clearer. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk about Jim Caldwell's contract extension. Let's talk about that briefly before we get out of here. Well, I guess after the 3-1 start, probably more people are okay with it. I've always been okay with it. I honestly feel like he was a big reason why we were successful last year. When I look at that team that to me was just a little bit subpar, I think we became subpar team overall, but 9-7 and in the playoffs for 3 main reasons. The special teams was dynamic. Matthew Stafford was dynamic. And the one and only Jim Caldwell, in my opinion, was dynamic. And so I'm, personally glad that he's coming back. I think that he has been a phenomenal coach for us, man. And the issue I think people have is they want him to be something that he's not. They want, and again, I talked about this. I said I would talk about 2 of my favorite TV shows. I'm going to talk about one of my second favorite TV shows, Seinfeld. They want him to be George Costanza when he worked for the Yankees. And when people would walk by Costanza, he wouldn't be busy. He worked in the office at the Yankees. But when people walked by, he acted frustrated and angry and upset, hot and bothered. So people would say, man, that Costanza, he's really into his job. They walk by, he's huffing and puffing, and he's just all distressed. People like that. When they see that type of emotion, that's why a lot of people like Jim Schwartz, early on. And things of that sort. When you see that emotion, that that passion, it's like, because as fans, we're emotional. We're not rational. We kind of, we make brash decisions. We're fans. It's short for fanatic. And so sometimes we want to see that same attitude with our coaches. And the fact that Caldwell is not that way, he's stoic. He has his way, with the media, with answering questions, not answering questions, kind of, sarcastic and things like that. The personality people don't like. And I think people confuse the personality with, like, is he a good coach? And I know there's been issues of game management and this and that, but the record speaks for itself. I did the fuzzy math driving home, didn't write it down, but I think we're something like, let's see, we can do the math. You had 11 games the first year, 7 the next, that's 18, 9 last year, that's 27, 3 this year, that's 30. See, guys, I can add. So that's 30 wins, and for losses, you got 5, and then 9, that's 14, and then 7, that's 21, and then 1, that's 20. So he's 30 and 22 as the Lions coach. The record speaks for itself. The players love him. He's been instrumental in bringing in different free agents like Rick Wagner because of the influence that he's had. So he's a guy that people love playing for, and he preaches the fundamentals, limiting turnovers and getting turnovers. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, they have no issue, I would assume, letting this guy go. You got to pay him, you got to honor the contract if it just didn't work out. So you're not married to him if you don't want to be, but you don't want a lame duck coach, especially the players. Like, hey man, we like this guy. What's going on? And I don't even care about as much. They can fire him later if it doesn't work out. I'm glad he's here. The X's and O's people want to complain about, but I think the discipline and the player relations have been top notch. He's kept superb coordinators around him. Not always Joe Lombardi, but he corrected that issue, and so I'm happy for it. Guys, this has been a fun show. In case you didn't hear that prediction, I'm going to go with 24-17 Lions over the Panthers. And hey, we talked about The Office. We talked about Chris Isaac. We even got some Seinfeld in there. Got a little Kid Cudi to close the show. As always, I can be found at Jerry Mallory NFL on Twitter. You can find me on PrivateTrade.com, and you can find me next Monday right here, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Until then, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to the Hindsight 20 podcast.
Crush a bit, little bit, roll it up, take a hit, feeling lit, feeling right, 2 a.m. summer night.